welcome to TIA Talks. My name is Jason, your host, and today I've got two people that need no introduction. Two contest. Well, you were never a contestant, hey Simon.
Feels like
Yeah, but I've learned a lot from you. Simon Colman, the main judge, the Judge Dredd of TIA. It's actually, I don't know if it's a pleasure or not to have you today, but welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me.
Good. Okay, sure. That one's out the way. And then my boy Darius.
Jason, good to see you. Run up.
To TIA. The winner was announced last week. Kaya, congratulations. We'll get to you. This is not about you. It's about Darius today. And Darius, I just want to say off the bat, it was an incredible season by you. You showed really an amazing technical expertise. And you really showed what a broker should be. And I loved that because you represented us as brokers very, very well. Not only that, I just wanted to also point out that I did endorse Darius on another episode before the season, so I knew he entered. I didn't know what would happen. And I said, I endorse Darius Wyngaardt. I can pull up the clip.
Yes.
But you're sitting here and it was so, so close. How does it make you feel just to miss out just a little bit?
Oh man, it just reminds me of that one quote, second place is the first, Liz. I'm quite a competitive chap.
They don't even announce the second.
No, look, you just kind of fall out the boat, you know. They're like, okay, and third place, and then the winner, and you stand there like, oh,
okay.
Shucks,
So I just need to make a note of that for the producer next time, Ryan. Maybe we should announce second somehow. I don't know how we're going to do it.
Yeah, it is tricky from a production point of view, but I'll take your point.
But Darius isn't the first one. I had all the runner-ups say, they don't know who we are. So, Darius, this is your moment. We know who you are. And also, I think over 1 million people know who you are. How did that journey go? And being on TV and all of that, how does that all make you feel now, being post-TIA?
I think hindsight is going to be 20/20 perfect vision always. The journey was really, really interesting as we had progressed. The competition is a lot tougher than it's made out to look sometimes on TV even. There's a lot that goes a little bit sort of unseen and unscripted in the background as well. So there are certain things that you just don't expect and you won't know until you're in the competition. You could be coached through it and you could have discussions on it, but at the end of the day, the articulation of how that plays out for you in the competition is always going to be unique.
Yeah, it is a unique experience. And I think for a judge, it's a little bit of a different experience. You also have the power play of kind of choosing who gets to the top 3 and who eventually wins. How has that made you feel after seeing everything and watching all the episodes back now on TV, having Darius sit next to you? Are you proud of him, Simon, and the rest of the contestants?
Yeah, I mean, to say you're proud of someone, it can be kind of patronizing. And it's not intended like that, because I think I've said it many times on social media, you know, if I were younger, I would not enter this competition because it's so tough. And it's not just about tough judges. I mean, the tasks stretch you. You've got all the personal dynamics between the contestants.
There was a lot of that.
There was, yeah, and you've got a lot of pressure from the cameras. I'm actually amazed every year at how quickly everyone gets comfortable being on camera. It's like they forget, well, certainly that's my perception. I mean, you can obviously say whether it is or isn't, but to see people just kind of ignoring the camera crew and doing what they need to do to win, is that just an act? Or
no, honestly,
do it?
That is such a good point, because it didn't take long for me to like get comfortable with the guys. But maybe because we live in like a social media like world, we're all on camera anyway. I mean, play golf, hey, I just got a birdie, whatever. It's never happened to me. But, I think maybe that's one of the reasons. Darius, how did you feel in the beginning there, getting used to all the cameras and stuff?
Initially, it's a bit intimidating because they sort of hover around you.
And you've got a massive crew. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah. People think it's just one dude with a camera.
I think they gave us a couple of good tips initially as well, though, which was the cameras aren't there. It's just as it is normally. And then, especially when it comes to your interpersonal interactions, just treat it as a fly on the wall. They're doing what they're doing. You must focus on what you're doing. And then once you're really into it, the show doesn't give you much space to focus on anything else, really. So you end up just really dug into the tasks and what it is that's happening at the time.
I think for me it was the mics. The mics was the bigger issue because those things never went off. So
Even on a bathroom break.
Well, yeah, sometimes, I mean, they heard we were sitting, I don't know how people found out that Rain was potentially having a heart attack behind the scenes, but we had a whole crew running after us when we were sitting randomly alone when he said he had a pain in his chest. So I don't know how that happened. Like mics, camera,
You've always got a hot mic.
Yeah,
Just
big brother.
that.
Big brother's watching. Yeah. Sure. But this season was a phenomenal season. I think you guys did an incredible job to put it on TV the way that you guys did. I mean, just the way you acted, I would say. Yeah. You were a great contestant, and on TV it just looked good. We could see that you guys just brought the insurance industry to life, which was awesome.
We felt that. I mean, bear in mind this was actually season 11.
Yeah.
That for the last, I'd say at least 6 years, that we've had a TV quality production, but we were just doing it on social media, which has lots of limitations. TV kind of opened us up to a much bigger audience outside of insurance. I heard we were doing 400,000 to 500,000 viewers per episode,
sure,
which is phenomenal. I mean, we never got that.
I'm just trying to get one view.
Yeah. So, I think it's been a quality production for quite some time. But I often said to Rionette, the producer, that it kind of felt like we had a Rolls Royce, but we were just parking it in the garage every year.
Yeah.
And this year we got to drive it around, and it was amazing.
Yeah, sure. No, I enjoyed it. My mom enjoyed it. My gran enjoyed it. My brother didn't watch it because he has no interest in insurance. And then when I asked him to please watch the previous season with me in it, at least he actually enjoyed it. So at least we're getting somewhere,
Yeah, we got some young viewers as well. Yeah, like around the age of 10 and less. And Knox's daughter going, what did she say? Her catchphrase was "Your time starts now."
Yeah. So
the other night we were having a judges meeting, and I had to do "Your bedtime starts now."
Cool. That's so cute.
Yeah. So amazing.
Oh man, you guys are human beings too.
No, not really. Yeah. I mean, Knox is. I'm not.
Speaking of the human element, there was a lot of emotion, in my opinion, in this season. I saw it from Mabatu right from the get-go, just when I think it was Donovan tuned her, in my opinion, not much, and he was raked over the coals for it. And she, like, the pressure and the cameras and all of those things do add, to the whole, the experience. And you tend to be on like knife edge the whole time, How was it actually? Because we see one side of the what I mean, any reality show is going to have drama, and we only see one of the sides, the viewer side. I want to know from you guys what happened behind the scenes and how did you guys actually cope? And I mean, Darius, there was 1 or 2 moments where I was like, damn, this guy's a little bit harsh. Yep. And I don't know. I know you as a person, personally. I felt like there were 1 or 2 moments was a bit harsh, but also not inaccurate necessarily, because there were moments where we did see you speaking to people and it did look like you were a bit harsh at 1 point or 2. So I just want to know, behind the scenes, like, actually, did it go down? Was it that the impression that you gave? Because I know you personally. And Simon, Darius, obviously, from behind the scenes. So how did this all play out?
Yeah, I mean, Darius will obviously give his perspective. I don't see a lot of the interactions between the contestants unless it's happening in front of me. And in fact, I only see the diary sessions when the episode gets aired. Sure. So I have no idea. In fact, this was the first year that we did the backstory. Sorry, I'll come back to your original question. Please. But just so you know, I didn't see anyone's backstory before the show started until it actually had finished. So, I might criticize somebody harshly for something, which is kind of my job as Judge Dredd, and then find out that they've had this terribly traumatic life up to that point, and I'd feel really guilty about it. And I'd say to Ryan, what's going on here? Why didn't you tell me? And he said, well, you can't behave differently just because you know this about somebody. It's
Yeah.
going to take something away from the show. So yeah, there wasn't any real view of what was going on behind the scenes. We do have the crew obviously giving us bits and pieces of information, and the guest judges often walk around and they'll interact.
But that's usually task specific.
That's task
Yeah,
specific.
yeah.
You're talking about those personal dynamics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was fairly obvious to see some of the clashes playing out
While they're
in front of
presenting.
us. Yeah, in the sort of panel presentation. But maybe this is a good point to just say, you know, we have a difficult task put upon us when we get a show like this out there. It can't be too technical that no one outside of the industry gets bored with it, basically. And it can't be a bunch of people being really nice to each other, because that's actually not what people want to see. You know, they want some drama. So the show does kind of, you creating a pressure cooker. I think that's the best way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Where people are going to often reveal things about themselves.
Good and bad.
Yeah. And also bear in mind that to enter this competition, and I'm going to generalize now because not everyone's the same, but you do land up with a bunch of type A personalities normally. You know, I joked about it in episode 1, you know, like having a huge bunch of overachievers in a room, because everyone that's there believes they can win, and everyone that's there thinks that they might never have lost at anything in their lives, you know, or certainly not in their careers. And when you put those kind of people all together in groups, yeah, you're going to have some fireworks, you know.
Sure. I think it's comes down to also being in those teams. I realized that there were a lot of, like you mentioned, overachievers, but not just overachievers, just highly qualified and skilled flippant people that I was competing against. And I mean, you felt the same, I'm sure, Darius.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What was the vibe with you guys? Because there was a little bit of tension with the teams specifically. You know, we've had everyone on here, and there was always tension in the teams. How did that play out on your side?
I felt it went pretty smoothly, to be honest. The interpersonal relationships, for me at very least, there weren't any significant frictions between me or any one individual. The tasks brought their own unique challenges to it. You know, I beg the question is, you know, if you elect somebody as a leader, then you need to support them. Why come up in opposition to them as well? Because once you've done that, you've set the task in motion. You've made the initial decisions that will start to govern the way in which you present the task, how it's going to happen. And that, it was odd to me, funny enough, in some of the diaries that we had some of the responses that we did. I didn't expect some of them, to be honest. But I suppose in the competition setting, that's going to happen as well. People are going to feel that there might be a contribution that was missed. But interpersonally, I mean, there was coaching behind the scenes. I was involved with people. We were talking about product knowledge. We were going into the depths of stuff that they as technical experts may not know. And there was a lot of sharing there as well. Good debates that we had ended up having at the dinner tables afterwards.
Yeah, because there's a lot of quiet time between each other as well.
Yeah, and so we discussed, listen, how could we have done that slightly better? What could we have done to have improved this, the outcome of the task? Was there a presentation portion lacking, and otherwise, and you know, what could the leader have done? Or a lot of those types of conversations that did take place. And it's a bit of a pity that we don't see that showcased in the show itself, because that also gives a good substance to the peripheral story that's taking place. And then you have showbiz taking over, and that persona that gets created in that showbiz element. I mean, Simon's a good example. Likable individual. We've had good conversations, great sense of humor, but in the show, he's seen as an absolutely unruly, undiplomatic.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
asshole.
That's, you know, that's something I'd love to see just be articulated.
How did you view yourself? Did you see yourself like he sees himself on TV?
Look, there was definitely moments of, you know, I've got the helm. Now we have to sail the ship. We're going to run aground, or we're going into shark-infested water, and now we must make decisions to navigate these decisions or these potential hazards that are on their way. And so you do your best to do that. People will be offended as that progresses because you can't, in a 2-hour space, be hyper considerate of every single opinion.
That's a good point, actually.
And as this progresses, I mean, you look at the best thing you can do once you've elected a leader is to support that leader, because that's a trait of a leader, to understand that you might not be the perfect person for this, but we've chosen you to run the show, or you've nominated yourself to run the show. So now we have to support you, because you need to bring the group over the line. And if you prioritize the group over the individual, then
Works
you're good.
out, yeah.
And what was happening, I think, especially when it came to, later or middle of the show, I was elected as leader. Some of those snips were brought into very interesting shortened versions of the total articulation of anybody disagree. No, we're good. Okay. As if I was sitting there with a loaded gun on my hip or something. But as that progressed, it was, I think the show did bring out some of that autocracy, definitely. Because in the first 1 or 2 episodes, we were stuck in
autocracy from you. Is that what you're saying?
Certainly.
Oh, autocratic leadership.
But
Okay.
the first 2 episodes, we had gotten stuck into some type of analysis paralysis. We're going to debate this task for 45 minutes, an hour. And then we run up short on the presentation portion. And the only thing that the judges are going to see is the presentation portion. So we have to focus on sharpening that. Make sure we hit all of the marks as far as the brief is concerned, and then make sure we articulate that as best possible. And then comes the leadership element of who's going to be best suited to what, how do we use those strengths to make sure that we've got a chain where our weak parts are aside and the stronger parts is what we present and help us carry these messages over and present that to the judges.
And do you think that they didn't know that? So like your teammates?
I think everybody's got different exposures to leadership, to different leadership styles. They may be used to different ways in which they do things on the regular. And it's definitely not like your general corporate setting or even your small business
I was going to
setting.
actually mention that, because in my business as well, sometimes I just give an instruction because it needs to just get done, and I'm pretty sure, Simon, in your business, because it's not this massive corporate, there's not a lot of red tape to go through, and HR, and I mean, you called yourself an asshole, in your business, we might have called people something, and they don't care, because we're just on a journey together as a family business almost, trying to reach for the stars kind of thing. And a lot of the contestants are in this corporate environment where feelings are going to get hurt, I guess, or they are a bit protected.
I mean, look, I think I've certainly had the advantage of working in a corporate and in a small business. And you're right, there's certain things that you can't do in a corporate. I also think the danger in a small business, especially if you're the leader or the manager, the owner, is that you're not always going to get honest feedback from the people that work for you.
Yeah.
Because their livelihood relies on you.
Depends on you.
And I mean, I'm not saying that's in every case.
Yeah, but that's a very
but it can be problematic. In a big business, most team members, if they don't have the courage to speak to you directly, they'll rush off to HR or whatever it is, and then you'll have a bigger thing to deal with. So I think coming at it purely from an entrepreneurial perspective has its pitfalls. And bearing in mind that the industry is made up of lots of SME, privately owned businesses, but your big employers, make up the bulk. So you're always going to have that, like we did this year, you're going to have a lot of people that either work for global businesses or big national employers. And I think it's very tricky, and you have to, I've joked in almost every season that the only reason I like being on the show is because I don't have to worry about labor relations issues.
Yeah.
Because in real life, those are actually issues, and you might get away with a lot more
on TV.
on TV, but also in a smaller business, where you might not have people sort of sticking their head up and going, hang on a sec, I don't like the way you've spoken to me. So I do think that's something to bear in mind. I also want to come back to what Darius was saying, and we've had some conversations post the show. And
Shame, Simon, should we quickly go for a coffee break so you can have your coffee? I think that's it.
Are we all having a sip now?
The insurance industry is changing fast. The way we work, the risks we face, and clients' expectations are evolving every single day. That's where Sapiens comes in. They're building cutting-edge technology that helps insurers stay ahead, streamlining processes, reducing inefficiencies, and making the entire experience smarter. If you're in the industry, this is the tech you need to know about. Learn more at sapiens.com. Okay, coffee's done. Simon, back at you.
Cool. Yeah, I wanted to come back to something Darius said. Your experience of what actually happened seems you said that it was different to what the viewers were seeing. The interactions between people. I mean, obviously, we film each episode for a whole day, and whilst I know someone will binge watch their favorite series for 8 hours, they're unlikely to do that with the Insurance Apprentice. So it's got to be edited and it's got to be entertaining. So I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But what I do think is, for me, a key takeaway, and this is for any contestant that's been on the show, it's too easy to write everything off as being edited or not representing the truth as you see yourself. The tougher thing to do, and I think the thing that has the most value, is to look into that mirror. And some of the things may be dismissed, but there may be other things where you can go, you know what, I do sometimes come across in a certain way. And that could be coming across as too forceful, or it could be fading into the background. And we had that in this season as well. Some people who just kind of shied away from the task, the cameras.
And that was the reason why they were eliminated.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the reasons, but I do think that there's so much value for everybody, and even for me as a judge, to look back at these things and reflect on or try and find the learnings. And I've certainly heard this from many of the past contestants, that when I saw Donovan recently, and you remember he was dancing around on the presentation floor, that really happened. And he came up to me at the finale and he said, do you know what? He didn't realize that he always does that actually when he presents. And I think somebody else had commented that, he does this.
That, yeah.
So he said he's never going to do it again. I mean, it's a silly example and obviously very obvious. But I just think that one needs to really engage in a lot of introspection after the show. I mean, to get into the top 10, to get into the top 20 is difficult because that's another 180 odd people that didn't make it. Then you've got another 10 disappearing to get into the top 10.
And now we're in top 3 stage.
Yeah, getting into the top 3, everyone playing a different game.
And not one of the 3 are eliminated by you.
No.
Actually.
Yeah.
I've learned that last time. Mabatu corrected me.
Yeah.
You guys don't eliminate at the last 3. They made it to the last 3.
Yeah.
And that's kudos. Sorry, Simon, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to ask Darius, in terms of your introspection and the way that you've reflected after the show. Obviously, seeing what you've seen, I mean, I know you, and I also watched it, and I didn't think too much of it, to be honest. So I don't really have much of an opinion about what you looked like. I thought you played a very focused game. So in my opinion, it came across focused and determined and possibly very strong. And I don't think in any way, for me, did you come across like one or two of the comments, this is the new villain, That's just my opinion. Darius, after reflecting and seeing it, what is your take?
Look, I think every opportunity is an opportunity to learn. That's for sure. And you learn of the perception that you give off, irrespective of the intention that you have in how you project yourself, which I think was a big factor for me. And I actually went to the staff. I went to my guys and I said, chaps, listen, let's have a chat. Obviously, we're running the show and we've got this business. We're working in a brokerage. We're pretty successful at what we do.
I'm sorry, but Bro, you are definitely the one person that would hold a meeting after TIA to get feedback. I think that in itself is crazy. It's like so cool. I mean, continue, please, but like, come on, that's a very big thing to do. Yeah.
Look, it made sense for me to do
Yeah.
that because they are the ones ultimately that carry the custodianship for our clients. And I'm the one that carries the banner and represents as well as advises on those portfolios. And if they have something valuable to say, it's very important for me not to just shoot it down. And so I had a conversation with them, and some of these guys have come with me a very long way. And we actually had a little bit of a brainstorming session on some of the stuff that went on. And I'm happy that they were plain and honest about it. And they had mentioned also, we're very, very honest in the office as well. So we sort out problems close on immediately, because I don't think anybody likes to brew on trouble. But we, if things like that have happened in the past, and they brought up some of examples and we spoke about it. We said, well, this is a scenario where it played out and this is how we handle it and we're all better for it. So quick resolution is a big element of that. I think that may come off as a bit direct as well. And then, just to talk a bit about the frame, that this is a competition setting. It's not a corporate setting. I made it to top 20 last year and I was trying to be extremely diplomatic, very understanding of everybody and I wasn't able to fully articulate what we wanted to achieve in the group settings. And some of the comments that were made to me prior to this year's competition was, you need to actually just step up, step in, do what you have to do to make sure that you get this across. And so instead of being as soft or as accommodating as I was previously, because that's the experience I came in. Yeah. So I went straight for the kill and said, we have to make sure we perform extremely well in every single task.
Do you think you might have overcorrected?
So
there's always the chance. I mean, there's certainly that. But you can't take away from people's unique and lived experiences. And sometimes that's what makes the show unique as well, is that, it may be specifically to them that they felt, this is not going to fly with me. I don't really like this. I don't like this leadership style or whatever it is. And then you have that friction that takes place. But that's life as well. Those things do happen. And
they wouldn't work with you, but you wouldn't work with them either.
Well,
I mean, like, let's be real.
That's where values and the way that you build up what you do, you bring in people, especially when you're building up a business as well, that share those value systems. So, and how you go about sorting out difficulties and problems as well. I'd have much preferred that some of the contestants come up to me and say, hey man, you've been a bit rough. You've been
a Simon
perceived this way.
Yeah.
Consider this during the show. I had a lot of comments afterwards. The guy said, oh no, that did come off a bit that way. And I was like, geez guys, I would have appreciated
But I also had some comments from some of the guys behind the scenes, the other contestants, where they said that you actually helped them.
Yeah.
So like there were moments where you helped them, not, just to prepare for something or to give them some guidance, like you mentioned, a bit of educational stuff on some product or whatever. That's not, I didn't see any of it. Yeah. So, I mean, I know that there is positive. And I want to actually ask Simon, Darius's performance, in a nutshell, what did you see in front of you? And we know you rated his performance, so rate his performance for us. How did you see Darius do in the competition?
No, he was unbelievable right from the beginning. I think I only work with brokers, even though I did 12 months of broking. It's
couldn't survive the audition. You were eliminated.
I didn't really like having a real job, so I became an underwriter. No, the reality is the best independent brokers that I know are just like Darius, and this is how I perceive you. Take no prisoners, get the job done, and make sure that everybody just falls in line to make that happen. And if I was looking for a commercial broker, I want a guy like that, actually.
100%.
Do I want that as a leader in a corporate? Probably not so much, because you're dealing with people that sometimes need a softer touch. They need to be inspired to follow you rather than instructed to.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's something that's taken me, nearly 40 years in the industry to learn that in certain circumstances, now bear in mind it's a competition, okay? So, but in general business in the industry, in certain circumstances, a softer touch may be required. And I think that that's something to think about. We live in firstly, a very racially diverse country. And we know that there's a lot of gender-based issues, not just in South Africa, but all over. And sometimes we have to be perhaps overly sensitive to these things. And that's another thing you learn in a corporate. I'm not suggesting you go and work for a corporate. I'm just saying these are some of the things that you pick up. So I think Darius's performance was exactly what I would have expected from a professional broker. There was no surprise there.
An excellent professional broker.
Yeah, for sure. I don't doubt that you're excellent at your job. But I'm, in spite of my Judge Dredd character, I don't lead like that. I definitely have a softer touch. I hope my team watch this and agree with me. Otherwise, they're all fired. Yeah, so I think
we're not going to another coffee break.
Yeah. I think for me, it's important to look at this through the lens of the competition as well. I do believe that your character is such that if you're in a competitive environment like you were,
go for the kill.
Yeah, why not? That's exactly what
he does it on the golf course.
and if you are a competitor against a person like that, like Darius, then why not throw a few perlers the way of the production crew when you're in the diary session?
True. Yeah.
Because you know what that narrative looks like, and you know that you can also feed it. But I don't want it to sound like the whole thing is just a fantasy. There's real stuff happening. People are under a lot of pressure during the course of the season.
And like you said, there is real introspection to be done.
For sure. You will. I mean, I'm obviously thinking about this purely from my own perspective, but I don't believe that anyone in their business careers will come across a more difficult environment. It's just in that respect, it's almost unrealistic. The pressure cooker is so severe. I certainly would never talk to somebody the way I do in a judging session, in a personal interaction, because we don't operate like that. But we don't have the luxury of time.
Yeah, sure. Darius, how did you see your game?
I've got a couple of mottos that I live by, and one of them is to do your best at every given circumstance.
Excellence.
That's the way you minimize regret entirely. There's nothing worse to me than looking back and saying, shucks, I should have, would have, maybe if I can't stand that way of living life. And I've adopted that mentality about everything, is that you do your best when it comes to the clients, when it comes to a competition, when it comes to polishing your shoes. Because in those individual moments of excellence, you make yourself slightly better than you were yesterday, and you become something slightly better than you were yesterday. So I reflected, would I play this competition any better than I did, or different than I did this way around? And certainly not, because I lived out my value system. I'm a firm believer in meritocracy. I'm a firm believer in straight talking. If we've got issues, let's resolve it. I think there were a couple of good moments that at least made their way to camera where I was empathetic to people's
more
scores.
than
and
a couple.
I was engaged with individuals on a personal
Sorry,
level.
were we watching the same show?
No, not the empathetic one.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, maybe I was a bit biased because I saw your big smile on TV and I was like, well, actually, you didn't really smile much. No. But when you did smile.
Not during the judge. They didn't smile at us, so I'm not going to smile back at them. Yeah, that's something that I, as far as the competition is concerned, that's my feelings around it as well. That you're coming in here and you want to present the best version of yourself. There are extenuating circumstances. There's a lot that doesn't necessarily make its way to the show. There's the behind the scenes, there's the before we get there, there's the after we leave, those kind of things. And I think, and hats off to the top 10 as well. There are really some beautiful people in this year's group, in the people that I've gotten to know and meet. And I'm proud to say that I can call them friends and confidants throughout. It's not a personal show, and I don't like that it's being portrayed that way specifically. There will be interpersonal difficulty, but the show is about insurance. And to me, it was about how do we showcase a version of insurance which ennobles the industry. I'm sure we can talk about that a little bit later.
Do you feel that we didn't do that?
I think there's a careful balance between the drama and the tagline of the show, the educate, empower, and elevate. And based on some of the feedback I received, I would have liked it to be a little bit different. I think there was a lot of the drama was accentuated. It is TV, a reality drama show. But the excellence, I would have loved to see a bit more of those positive comments.
When you talk about excellence, it sounds like you're leaning a lot towards technical excellence. Is that all you think life is about, or your career?
It's definitely a lot of that, but no, not at all. I think it was.
What are the other things?
In Muzi's first interview on TI Talks, you, Rain, Temoa, and himself.
Yeah.
He gave a little gem away there.
Someone watched it. Yes.
And he mentioned that the Insurance Apprentice should have a higher purpose in the industry. He mentioned that the attitude of the individual and how they interact, what they do on camera, off camera, how they perform in the show matters, and then technical expertise as well. So those are the three things that he gave us in that.
Did you tick all those boxes in the season then?
I hoped to. Yeah. That was what I was trying to and sort of bring in the way I was personifying myself.
And did you think that the other contestants that were with you in that top 10, because when you mention those three things, I can put quite a few of them in that. What are your feelings around that?
I think everybody came in with their own baggage and their own perception as well. I'm not sure that everybody would have done the research or the deep dive that I
watch
did
TIA episode 1, TIA Talks episode 1.
But there are definitely a good number of them that encompass that extremely well. Definitely.
And I think I'll tell him this. I think Kaya does envelop those traits. You would have seen possibly a different side to the top three, but Kaya and Mabatu, I think, did represent TIA quite well as yourself. And I think out of the three, any one of you could have won. Personally, watching it back, between you and Kaya, the actual top two was the right top two, in my opinion. I think it was a very, very good show of what the industry is about. And I will get Kaya's feelings around everything as well. And because on the one side, I mean, he's come from, you can see he's had to get that confidence, throughout the episodes. The progression. He progressed through the competition and he became the apprentice at the end of the day. You were very consistent throughout. And I think that what you mentioned, just those three things, you both have those things. Where do you think it was weighing in their minds with the choice?
Hard to say. I think that's actually an answer for Judge Dredd to
Simon,
answer.
do you want to? Do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'll come back to. I mean, one of the words you used was the meritocracy issue, and I think there's a lot of conversation that can happen around the issues around meritocracy. But I think that if one views it only as technical in nature, it's too narrow. And it's especially too narrow in a country like South Africa. I think that one needs to bring in some of the softer skills that are required to be a leader in South Africa, and especially not just in a corporate, but even in politics. And I felt that for me, the issues around accountability and responsibility, and having some kind of emotional intelligence were key. The scores were so close when we got to the top 3. And Kaya, for me, ticked more of those boxes than Darius did. And that's not to say that finishing second out of 200 people.
Oh my word, it's a massive freaking achievement.
I mean, where did you finish?
Yeah, it's not about me. I mean, you continue asking the questions. I'm just here.
No, I mean, so I just felt that the brand of the Insurance Apprentice was better represented, that ambassadorial position, by Kaya. And obviously wasn't the only decision maker, but there was a fairly unanimous decision that was taken when we were choosing the winner. So it wasn't easy. I mean, it's never easy. I said it in episode 1 that I'd be happy with any of these 10 being our Insurance Apprentice.
Looking back, I don't know if we would say the same. Eh?
Well, no, I mean, when you get to the top 3, you have to make a decision, and in a different set of circumstances, maybe Darius would have finished ahead of Kaya. I think that if you had displayed more of an empathetic side in this competition, I would be sitting here with Kaya right now talking about, him finishing second. Because having that sort of well-rounded, let's call it an arsenal, is super important, and yes, you need to know your stuff. But if you're going to lead a business, you can have people in there that know their stuff.
Yeah.
Some of the best CEOs around the planet know very little about the technical aspects. I'm not saying that Kaya doesn't know the technical aspects of insurance. I'm just saying there has to be more to it. And the kind of person that represents the brand of the Insurance Apprentice should encompass all of those things. And I think that Kaya does. And I Darius, I don't normally have these kind of conversations with people after they leave the competition.
Yeah,
but
I didn't get the privilege of this.
Yeah, I'm glad we are, because it feels to me like, and I've already said the introspection is important. I've gone through so many years in my career with blind spots, and either people haven't pointed them out to me or I've ignored them, until I get to the point where I actually have to do something about it. It's almost like, the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. And I think until you get to that point, if you think you're already a finished product, I don't think any of us are. We're all a work in progress.
Speak for yourself. I beat Darius once. So
at golf.
I didn't know where I was going to throw that in, but I did it. No, you're spot on, Simon. I think
you are a fierce competitor. I mean, there's just no doubt. Yeah. And as I said, if I was looking for a commercial broker, I want you to be the guy.
And there's 2 sitting at the table, so take that as a compliment.
Not you.
So take it as a compliment.
And because certain roles require different aspects, and just like I think the Insurance Apprentice winner needed a slightly different makeup to my ideal broker.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I think if it was the broker apprentice, I would have been sitting in the runner-up chair and you would have won. But it's not. And Darius, we both said it, and I think the whole world has seen it, or at least South Africa. You know what you're doing, and you are a very focused individual. And I wouldn't be friends with a Simon, I wouldn't. And I just want to say that out to everyone else. Whatever you saw on TV might have been one side of this man sitting in front of me, but he smiled and he's beaten me at golf a few times. and he hasn't been a Simon to me. So I'm really grateful for that. And you know what, Darius, seeing your progression from the previous season, when I met you in the top 20 elimination rounds, when we went through and you didn't, meeting you there and seeing you in this season, I think that there was so much that you learned from that season, just being in the beginning phases of it, to this point, that going forward, I think you've got so much to still learn, but you've learned so much in this season and on top of what you already learned. And I think you might not be a finished product yet. Your wife will probably tell you are. My wife will tell me I am. Your third wife will tell you are too.
Still a work in progress, trust me.
But yeah. I think you close to it. We saw it. You were this close. And congratulations, Darius. I think runner-up is actually something that Rain also got, and he was also not announced. But if I have to put you guys as runner-ups all over the place, all the TIA runner-ups out there, you guys have all really carried the TIA brand, and you were the ambassador for that season, and you showed everybody that as a support to the winner, because you were a support to Kaya along the way. I think that shows a lot of who you are as a person, more than just maybe an autocratic leader at times. And I saw that. I think everyone behind the scenes saw that, and I just want to say congratulations, because the top three, having them in front of me, I'm like a fangirl. And I get to say one or two nice things to you guys. But I truly mean it. You were a superstar. And well done. Yeah. Simon, any last words before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to, it kind of underlines what we've been talking about. This pursuit of excellence has to be about more than the technical stuff. And I think that anyone who's been through this needs to stay involved with the Insurance Apprentice going forward. I think you've got a lot of value to add for the next tranche of contestants, especially seeing as you are part of this first group that was on TV. I'd like to think that everyone watches the show, but not everybody does. And I think that you've got some key learnings there that you could share with somebody. And I'm hoping that over a period of time, you'll see that, the edges, your edges, whilst they were very effective in the show, maybe some of them just need a little bit of sandpapering and smoothing over.
Sure.
But you've got to be aggressive as a broker. Otherwise, you won't get clients and you won't get the insurers to do what you need them to do for your clients.
So good luck with the catch-22.
Yeah. It's a balancing act. It's always a balancing act.
It is a balancing act. It is a balancing act.
Yeah.
Darius, any final words to new contestants or guys that are wanting to enter the TIA, and even hopefuls in the industry who are wanting to enter the insurance industry as a whole? Any advice or any takeaways that you've taken from TIA that you would give to them?
There's a whole world of insurance out there. It's its own ecosystem. It's massive, absolutely massive, and I firmly believe you can find your place there as just any person off the street. There's a lot of opportunity in that space as well. I think I've mentioned this a couple of times as well, is that insurance is such an important part of life that is so underrated and underappreciated. We don't do ourselves a lot of favors in some of the silly marketing that we do, because we help people recover from the worst things that can happen to them physically, to their physical bodies or their environment or the assets that they've accumulated. And we make a meaningful difference. It's not just a profit-driven industry. For me, that's what keeps me afloat. You'll know that I wanted to be a diplomat and do all sorts of interesting things, and I realized that that's not where my calling is. There's nothing that brings me greater pleasure in the workspace currently than serving a client and making sure that when the pawpaw hits the fan, they've got people to back them, and people that actually genuinely care about them. And that's how we've assimilated some of the mottos into our business as well, which is that's good for the client, that's good for us. And that lives in my heart, and I'm hoping that more people can see that in insurance, that there are good people, it's a good industry, and you can make a very meaningful difference there as an individual, as a career, where it's not just a profit-driven institution or business type. It's something that makes tangible change possible for people. It corrects calamities and catastrophes. It brings people to a place where they can breathe, where they don't have to be just stuck in their circumstances. And that's the contribution that I'd love for people to see. And I'd love to see that in contestants as well, for that to live in their hearts, so that individuals who are watching the show and that can see what's being projected and who these people are who are participating, that they are good people doing good things in that industry. And that's especially important to me.
Yeah. And you were a great example of showing just how much you care about insurance and your clients, just in general, in the show. I just, you know your stuff, but you would fight for them. And that you can see. Congratulations, Darius.
Thank you, Jason.
Simon, it's always a pleasure having you on my show. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate it, man.
Do you have any closing words? What's next for Simon Colman before you disappear off our screens for a few months, and we see you hopefully again next season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm building a business as well, you know, so I'm doing what I'm passionate about. I've been a liability underwriter for 34 years, I think it is. It's longer than some of the laws.
It's older than the majority of contestants.
He will take the marks that you give us. Okay, you understand.
You know something. Jeez.
No, I want to make a difference, you know, and I'm working on products that I think make businesses more sustainable, and I rely on brokers to distribute those products.
Well, apparently, just one.
You see the value. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, guys. I think this was an insightful discussion. And I think for anyone, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this episode. For anyone who is interested in applying for TIA for next season, this is the episode to listen to, because you will learn a lot about yourself, about what Simon wants. And
I change it every year.
You change it every year. Okay, well, get out of here. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Awesome, guys.
Thanks, Jason.